to my graduation presentation. Today I'm going to talk about my project, a toolkit on unveiling the hidden curriculum in design education. I'm going to show how I use the toolkit in one course of Industrial Design Engineering TUDelft, the course ID Academy, and I'm going to show the findings and the benefits in unveiling the hidden curriculum. But let's have a look how this project started. So I've been a student assistant in the course ID Academy for a couple of years, as you can see in these pictures. I've been talking with a lot of students, and there was one thing it was very unclear to me. At the end of the ID Academy course, several students will tell me, Celeste, you know what? I should have done ID Academy differently. And when I was asking why and how, there was always no clear answer. So I thought, if there is no clear answer in what is explicit, I need to see what is hidden. That's why the hidden curriculum. The hidden curriculum is the binding of all the learnings that are not formally considered learning objectives. You can relate maybe to it when you hear students or friends saying something like, you know, in that course, I've learned so much about myself rather than the course. Yes, that's part of the hidden curriculum. It is highly personal, so all of the learnings are highly related to the perspective of students. And it's also highly contextual. That means that the course in itself triggers these learnings in students. The hidden curriculum falls into the concept of tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge is a form of knowledge that we struggle to communicate, and sometimes we are not fully aware that we have it. But it's extremely important for designers to unveil this tacit knowledge because it reflects all of our ingrained schemas, and in design we make a decision. And it's very important to understand these schemas, these perspectives, and in order to make more aware decision making and judgment in our designs. To discover the hidden curriculum and to find ways to unveil the hidden curriculum, I use the research for design approach. That means all of the designs you make, all of the prototype, you test it, you try it, to create some sort of knowledge about a certain topic. In my case, the hidden curriculum. So now let's have a look at the step I took to unveil the hidden curriculum. As you can see, first we need to map what is explicit. We need to go on top of the island and understand what's there. Then we take our masks and we deep dive a little bit underneath the island to understand student perspective and help them to unveil their own personal hidden curriculum. Then we deep dive even more, and with all the findings collected, we analyze them and we take out the hidden curriculum of the course, in my case, ID Academy. Then we take some of the findings and we swim up till the surface, but first we need to scratch a little bit the island, and then we put it on top so that this hidden curriculum becomes more explicit. First step, understand the context. So ID Academy is a course in which students learn 13 skills in a form of workshop. Students chose these skills by themselves, so it's very difficult to track the content and also the interaction. Some of the workshops are solo, some of the workshops are in group. So what I mapped was the journey. They start with an introduction workshop in which they start reflecting on what kind of skills they need. Then they choose workshop, and then they experience the workshop for 13 times. At the end, they hand in a reflection in which they just reflect on what kind of workshop were useful for them. Step 2, unveiling student perspective and their own hidden curriculum. The toolkits I designed helps students to recognize the perspectives that are taken a little bit for granted and help them to identify what kind of perspective are most influential in the perception of the course. The tool is based on repertory grid, which is a technique used for unveiling points of views of people. And in my case, are students, and I'm trying to understand their point of views on the course ID Academy. After unveiling these points of views, students, through dialogue, that means through discussing with themselves in a group, identify what are their real perspective, and then they combine them in some sort of direction for ID Academy. What do I mean? Let me give you some example. In this example, the students change her perspectives. The student recognized that she chose workshop for exploring a bit of novelty. She identifies this to not knowing what kind of designer she wanted to be. So she decided to use the ID Academy course to develop her expertise towards her future professional self. In this example, the students identified her dilemma. She recognized that she liked more finding problems than finding solutions, but she was also very concerned about her career. So she identified that a good way to use ID Academy course was to discover what kind of opportunity exists in the industry for a researcher. In the next example, the student recognized his own perspective. He identified that he really liked interacting with people, and he was very concerned on how to interact with other professionals and other designers. So what he did, he decided to give a bit more focus in ID Academy for developing his soft skills. However, these are all parts of the hidden curriculum of students. So let's have a look. What is the hidden curriculum of the course ID Academy? Step 3. To understand the hidden curriculum of a course, I took the tools that students use in step 2 and I collected the data. Analyzing the most common words used by students and their relationship revealed the hidden curriculum. As you can see, ID Academy is not just about learning skills, but also learning how to explore skills. However, students have different perception of what exploring means to them. I found 3 dimensions of exploration: the goal of exploration, the attitudes when exploring, and the approach used to explore. But there are a bit differences there. For some students, the aim of exploration is to getting to know all the skills they didn't know they existed. For others, it's about learning skills they don't know very well. The attitude when exploring can be very different too. Some students look for uncertainty and like to deal with it, so they're not concerned at all about the results. Others like to prove their learning, so it's good to explore and then validate their skills. The approach is the last I mentioned. Some students really like having guidelines when exploring. Others need complete freedom. So these dimensions represent the most influential perspective of students in the ID Academy course when we talk about exploring. Step 4. Integrating the hidden curriculum. During this research, I noticed that students could recognize the risks of opposing perspectives. So with this in mind, the coordinator and I decided to integrate these perspectives into an introductory workshop. The aim was for students to recognize how this perspective influenced them when making choices on the workshops, discuss the benefits and the risks, and choose a workshop according to these new insights. The 3 dimensions were translated with the metaphor of an explorer's equipment. Students identify themselves in these three dimensions, choose their first set of workshop, then discuss about this perspective, and update their choices. As a result, the student incorporated workshops they haven't considered before. So, this was the process I went through in unveiling the hidden curriculum and understanding the benefits for students. I translated part of the process into a toolkit that you can find in www.unveilawareness.com. It is a website I created for those who are interested in the hidden curriculum or they want to experiment in unveiling it. There are 3 steps: understanding the context, unveiling the student perspective and their own hidden curriculum, and also analyzing the data from the board. These steps, you can find them online, and there is a little manual which explains all of these steps and how to use the board. And of course, there is the board too. This is the end of my presentation. Thanks everybody for listening. I would like now to bring the presentation in a form of discussion. I know it's quite difficult online, but I think it would be nice to try it out. If you're more curious about how the tool works or what kind of findings I had besides the hidden curriculum, please let's have a discussion about it. This recording. And Diletta, do you have?
I have a question.
So it's so from just this side of the screen. I can report it.
What are the hidden learnings that you discovered? That is.
Okay. So
you might want to repeat your question.
Yeah. So in my project, I discovered in the 3rd step, when I took the boards and I analyzed the data, I discovered from one side the hidden curriculum as a general concept, but there were also interesting insights about what kind of students learn, and these are I call these hidden learnings, so basically I can quickly maybe share my slides. Oh. Yeah, so as you can see, so the hidden curriculum, it's more a general concept that it's highly influenced by student perspectives. Okay, this is not working, but I can stop sharing. I can just talk about it, I think is the best option. But there are some learnings that happen when students are triggered by certain things. In ID Academy, the special part of ID Academy is that students can choose workshop, and there are 2 hidden learnings in the ID Academy course that are quite common. One is the challenge. So what means challenge for students and how they experience the challenge, what is their perception of challenge. And the other one is related to relevance, so and interest. So students normally find this balance between finding interesting skills to learn that are not always related to sorry, I got a bit confused by the message. That are not, so there are interesting learnings, interesting choices that students make, that they are related for just what is interesting, but not maybe what is relevant. and other students, for example, choose relevant workshops for their career. But many times students learn how to find a balance between these two things, and I think it's quite important also as a hidden learning. So the hidden learning are more learnings triggered by certain little by the course rather than the perspective of the students. So there is okay, I have two questions. So one is from James. How do you want to take this forward? I think there were two things. So from one side, it would be interesting to implement the findings in the ID Academy course. And from the other side, is also interesting to continue and to try out the tool, the board I designed, and to experiment with different courses to see what are the possibility of the tool. So these are the two directions that could. Okay. So I'm gonna read slowly the question, but so there is Saeed that raised his hand. Can you just write down the question so I don't have to answer? The second question. So the second question is to Essen. What are you most proud of in your project? I think is the process I went through to the design of the board. And also it's the same as the part I like the most. So when I at the beginning I started just exploring methods to unveil this hidden curriculum, and I had no idea even what the hidden curriculum was. And then trying out, I started understanding a little bit better what kind of direction the curriculum have, and then implementing things and finding, for example, the right tool like the repertory grid technique, and then experimenting with it. That was, I think, the most fun part. And I think is also I'm proud because I've seen clearly the results in students when they were discussing, and when I saw the reflections, they were really interesting reflection that they come up with. So that's, I guess, why I'm also very proud of it. From Janus, we have another question. So I was so I know that giving students the right information at the right time is key. Often students are overwhelmed. How should we deal with the moment in which we confront students with the tool? Yeah, you mean the board, right, Janus? Can you nod? Yeah. Yeah, so the tool is in the tool. The tool starts from starts from the perspective that you need to first have some experience about the course. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. So I think in ID Academy, for example, the best positioning for the using the tool is at in a halfway through the ID Academy course, because to understand what you are doing in a way, you need to also doing it a bit. So it's important for the student to experience the ID Academy course and then create a direction. That's it. Do you have any more questions? All right. So Hardik asks, what is the most critical phase of this process of finding the hidden curriculum? What is the most critical phase of this process of finding the hidden curriculum? Do you mean in the design process or the?
Like the whole process of executing this workshop, like what is the most critical part? The bottleneck.
Well, I think giving the right information to students is the biggest issue. I also faced that, so I had some comments from anonymous feedback from the workshop, in which they said that it sometimes wasn't clear what the aim was. So it's not easy, I think, to communicate the fact that you need to think about your perspective to really make and then to really consider your perspective and be critical on your own way of seeing things. That's and difficult, and it's also, I think, what I've seen in certain reflection that from the board and from the feedback I received, there is a part of students that felt that the tool showed the obvious, so show these obvious perspectives. So that's so that's the critical phase, and would be interesting to to find ways and to iterate on that. I think that's Janus Keller. Oh no, Said. ID Academy is very unique and open and an open course, and it gives the opportunity to students to have this kind of hidden curriculum. How do you think this project could be implemented in courses with less flexibility? Yeah, so that's an interesting question. Thanks, Said. There is for sure the tool needs to be experimented with. I've tried, for example, to use, instead of the workshop, as to use the experience from. No, okay. Let's make it. Sorry, let's make it a bit simple. So I think still that the tool could work because there are courses in which certain perspective really influence the perception of the course. So still reflecting on how you see certain moment of the course could be a key to maybe reconsider certain perspective that we have, in which maybe we feel I haven't learned anything from this course. That's I mean, I think as a student, everybody hurts sometimes. Oh yeah, I didn't really learn anything from that course. And I think reconsider certain perspective could be an interesting way to act. Yeah. Did it answer you? Okay, yes, there is a thumbs up. So, all right. Janus, any ideas on progressive revealing? I mean, giving part of the toolkit in the beginning, part halfway, a part in the end. Progressive disclosure. That's this question. I don't understand very well in terms of. Can you ask me the question, Jan?
Yeah, so that's again sort of referring back to the information part. So in the beginning, students are overwhelmed. Halfway, they're bored, and at the end, they're relieved. Maybe they have different modes, right? So if you could sort of tell this story in a longer way, sort of compartmentalize parts of the, and make it, but still make it one story.
Yeah.
Would that work? Sort of, are there ideas on that?
Yeah. So I think when we
and great job, Chelle, has been said a couple of times, so I have to repeat that. Yes.
Thank you, Janus. So I think the introduction what we had is at least a first way to start. That's why probably that's why we took out this 3 dimension of the exploration and we put them onto them. So it's a first discussion about what are the most common perspectives, right? And then we start challenging them, but not that much, because again, they're not experiencing ID Academy. They haven't experienced ID Academy yet. So yeah, it's if you don't know what ID Academy is, it's very difficult to even recognize the potential of ID Academy. So in the moment, halfway through, it would be interesting to place the tool, and it would be also interesting to see what if students can even find the hidden curriculum of the course themselves in one workshop. So first they find their own hidden curriculum, and then they find maybe one big hidden curriculum for ID Academy. And then at the end, of course, the idea would be to let them reflect on what they meant. But yeah, there are also different things that we could implement. For example, what means challenge? If this is the aim of the ID Academy course, would also be interesting to see, okay, we think that challenging you is very important. At the end of ID Academy, you need to tell us what is challenging for you, for example. But this again, if the aim of the course is to, I think there is also a slippery slope there, because if you give too many information and you put too much on this reflective way of doing, then the students lose a little bit the track of just the skill and exploration, etc. So it would be, yeah, it's a way to balance what is hidden and what is actually explicit. Second question. No, another question. Is your toolkit only suitable for the ID Academy, or it can be adapted to identify student personal interest in general? That's actually an interesting question. It could be. I honestly think that it could be. The toolkit, the board could be used also to identify the personal interest in general, because we so a couple of months ago, I tried to use the tool also for different topics, and also in one of the iteration, I just asked to my participants to just remember moments in which they felt they learned something, and then they reflected on these learning moments, and that also it was an interesting it was interesting to see that actually can be a bit broader, yeah, but I'm not sure. I mean, we should, it would be interesting to try out with more people. Stepping out of academia, do you imagine something like your tool to be useful to design practitioner? How do you think this could impact when it comes to the way designers carry out projects? Well, I think so. Let's okay. I think the mind map that us as a designer, it's very common. The mind map that you make, it's when you just put down things, right? And normally in creative techniques, when we start the project, we try to remove these biases. So this is also could be a tool that in a way remove the biases that you have and make you reflect on what kind of biases you have. So I think maybe I could see this tool, if, for example, if you have to do a project on a topic like, I don't know, taboo, then you you could use this tool to reflect on what taboo means to you and what kind of perspective you have on taboos. So yes, that could work, I think. And how do you think this could impact when it comes to the way designers carry out projects? I mean, I think the tool, what the tool does is just reveals a bit of your biases in a way, and your and your perspective. So, and yeah, in an ideal world, could in a way show you a bit more. You should be more aware of what kind of where you stand. So maybe, I don't know. I think it's a bit I would say like too big, but you could be also more in a way ethical or more aware of how you design because of, you know, you recognize your perspective. But about that, I'm not sure. Frederick, what type would you what tip would you give your past self at the beginning of the project? Write down stuff. So, but like on paper, because yes, I'm a bit of a mess in general. I think everybody that worked with me knows that I'm a bit chaotic. So a good way I could find to communicate was writing on big boards on all over the walls. And then taking pictures. So also that was a kind of a way for journaling. But sometimes you think and you don't have anything to write on. So having a diary would have been very interesting. I had it at the end, but I think if I had that, could have helped me also a little bit more on making more decision and just decide where to go a bit more, so to be more focused. That's the tip I would give to myself. Essen, I know that you care a lot about design education. This is why you initiate this graduation project. What is the most important lesson learned from this project for design education? Well, I mean, I think knowing that there are perspectives and students are different from each other shows that there is a diversity. And the fact that we have one way of teaching, it shows that the education could also be different. I'm not saying that should be customized, but could be. Or could leave the students the opportunity to being aware of the fact that there are differences, and what you learn, it's also mostly based on you, and what you want to learn is also more related to yourself than what is given. I hope did I answer your question, Essen? Okay, there is a thumbs up. Peter, how does the hidden curriculum change when design education goes online? That's super cool. So I don't know. I mean, no. I mean, no, wait, I know, but it's I've been reading a lot of papers on the hidden curriculum online and also on tacit knowledge online. Actually, mostly tacit knowledge, because in the moment you remove the interaction with people, then you miss a big part of that. But in case of the hidden curriculum, I think being online gives much more responsibility to the students. So the hidden curriculum becomes stronger, because of course there is a hidden curriculum in everything, in every type of way of teaching. So from a very structured course to a very open course. but I think in the moment it's online. There is this agency that students take, and yeah, so and then the hidden curriculum really becomes, maybe we can also talk about what type of design, what type of online we talk about. I mean, I can imagine, for example, blended courses that are more open source, or in which you as a student can learn different type of you can have, how do you call it, now I forgot the word, the courses that are open source courses, let's call it like that.
MOOCs.
Yeah, MOOCs, yeah. So for example, in those courses you have much more responsibility, and I think it was okay. So in one of the reflection I found from students that I think is quite an interesting reflection, and it really sticking to my mind, is that this student said, you know what? I think honestly I can learn from everything and everywhere. So, and this level of openness, because when you are online, that you need to have more openness to what you're learning, because it could also be that what you're learning is not really what you're getting, and it really depends on the agency of the students. I don't know. I hope I answered your question in my way.
We have one further question, with
Yes.
one last question, and then we can finish up.
Yes. So great work. Thanks, Kartik. Really inspiring. So just curious, if someone was to continue on your thesis, what area would you like them to explore further? Okay, so, well, I think integrating the hidden curriculum, there's two things actually. So the first one is how to integrate the hidden curriculum, because the hidden curriculum creates a bit of it creates more mess, because you take out something that was a bit hidden, and then you put it there, and students are not very how to deal with it. That then it's quite an unexplored area. I try to integrate it to see also what kind of benefits would create in students, and one way was just to enable a discussion and then help them to choose workshop. But there is also another part that's also very interesting. So it would be interesting to map these perspectives and also see what type of hidden learning. So really go into analyze these students, but to kind of create profiles, if I could say. So profiles, and see, for example, certain profile, what kind of learning they have rather than others. So for example, I don't know, if I am an expertise, what type of learning normally I have in ID Academy, that I can tell you that maybe now that I know a lot about the data, normally the students that have direction towards the expertise area, they also struggle. For example, when they choose workshop, they always try to balance being open, because some of them are not, when the expectations are not met, they are extremely unsatisfied. So that's, for example, one trait that I noticed that people that reflected this expertise direction have. So in my opinion, that would be an interesting area to see, like field to go. Yeah.
Okay, I think we'll end the questions there. Thank you very much, everyone, for all your questions. Great questions, and we can. We're now going to move into a private.
Yes, yes. So Janus,
Yes.
do you have the
Yeah.
link?
I shared a link with you and with Essan. I can share it in the chat, or I can email it to you, Peter, if that's best.
That's fine. Yeah, yeah. And I'll.
So I'm emailing it to you now, Peter Lloyd. There you are. So that's where we'll be at. We'll discuss for a bit. Then 10 minutes, 15 minutes later, Chella joins us. Is that it?
That's about right. Yeah. And then maybe 30 minutes time we'll come back to this forum again.
Yeah. And Chella, you have to make sure that this thing stays active. So my suggestion is that Diletta Wessel becomes the host for a while you are away.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm leaving now to start up the other Zoom.
Yes. All right. See you.
See you soon.
Bye.
Okay. So one thing I wanted to say, if anyone could, if you unmute everyone and just give you a round of applause for your.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh. Oh, you can be loud.